while we're imagining a ecological civilization, what's very important is so how do we bring about this kind of future in the real physical world? And to bring vision to reality, a lot of times we have to understand the vision, the fiction. And a good tool for doing that is science fiction. And it's a really simple way to get our ideas across to the masses and to understand what's going on. I want to familiarize everyone with the concept of solarpunk, and there are a few genres that we are already familiar with in science fiction, cyberpunk, dieselpunk, and steampunk. The thing with these genres are they all depict a dystopian post-apocalyptic world where resources are drained, humanity is forced into a lifestyle that is not very ideal. Currently, I believe we're heading towards a cyberpunk future. What really defines these kind of genres is the role that technology plays in our relationship with the world and with each other. And to help everyone understand a little more about Solarpunk, I would like to play a really short video for you to understand what this kind of a world would look like as envisioned by artists. So you can see in this vision of the world, the relationship between technology and people is very much one where it's sort of we're using technology as a bridge that connects us further to the natural elements and to each other. So instead of divide and conquer we see in the current paradigm where technology is supposed to connect us but makes us feel more isolated and alone, Solarpunk depicts this future where technology could actually help us be more connected to everything, which includes nature and each other. And that is how we satisfy our basic needs through technology. And so the real distinction here is the technology that we're using utilizing connections, inherent connections between us and everything in the universe? Or is it sort of trying to disconnect us and uh, make us servants to a larger system? Turning back to real world applications to give an idea of if we want to bring about this kind of future, what kind of uh, practices we can already look to. The first one in agriculture, as everyone who's interested in these things knows, that the current form of mass agriculture in the world does not work really well. It's extremely concentrated, and so are the corporations that most of the foods we can shop for in supermarkets are owned by very few corporations. The incentives are misaligned, our soil and land are suffering and becoming less and less productive over the years due to pollution, chemical fertilizers, and pesticides, completely degrading the microbiology that supports soil health and in turn animal and human health. So a lot of sustainable food movements, such as permaculture, eco agriculture, they respect the idea that there's a whole cycle of life, a whole microcosmos going on under the soil that's integral to the health of plants, and that plants take nutrients from the air and put them in the soil to help keep this system alive. They're investing in the soils upon which they live, and everything flourishes with this collective effort. And of course, there's the mycelium that connects as a fungal network between the roots of trees in the forest and sharing resources. And all this interconnectivity informs of our agriculture that is a polyculture where you're cultivating an ecosystem of many different kinds of plants that creates a system and draws in a balance of predatory insects and birds, keeping pests in check, and therefore not needing pesticides and chemical fertilizer. But the monoculture that we see that has become the norm is very much you're creating a paradise for whatever pests are going to eat your crops. So, and that creates the need for pesticides and for chemical fertilizer because you're depleting the same kind of resources by planting the same things instead of having a healthy circulation. As our previous speaker has said, there's these forms of agriculture can create a sort of abundance that could feed everybody on this planet. And you are seeing a plan for a park, a community park that's very small scale, that's been converted to a food forest for educational and recreational purposes. And a lot of this work that I'm showcasing is done by my mentor, Benjamin Fritton in Maryland. And these are the organizations that he's been working with. The former forested, they took over some land that was completely degraded by planting tobacco for decades. And within 6 years, was able to turn it into a early food forest that supports community supported agriculture and plenty of events. And here again is their planning. So with good planning, we can use vertical space, not just horizontal space, to get more abundance out of any tract of land, and we're eating healthier foods from healthier soils. So if we combine this sort of agricultural practice with also a architectural process that changes the logic by which we relate to nature to sustain ourselves, we could really sort of see very sustainable and resilient lifestyle starting to be built where we're not very dependent on a centralized commercial system to provide us with our basic needs. One of the prime examples that I have studied are earthships. They come in all shapes and sizes, usually south-facing glaze. That is their website. And they're, I don't want to say headquartered, but most of the earthships are developed and built in the Greater Earth community in Taos, New Mexico. I visited them in 2017 to enroll in their academy. That the picture you're seeing now was my dorm room for a month. And those are some of the earlier Earthships. And they really remind me of in Star Wars: A New Hope how Luke's family lived on this desert planet. And the actual site for shooting this scene in the movie was in Tunisia. And the houses, the set was actually converted from traditional vernacular architecture that has been employed by the locals there. This is indigenous knowledge on how to live in harmony with the earth to get your needs met. And of course, the teams, the students come from all over the world. In 2018, we came together and built the first one in Japan. It is now a Airbnb that you can stay at. And as you can see, it looks very nice inside. This isn't like a sort of you're roughing it sort of situation. This is sustainable living with class. And the architect behind all of this is Michael Reynolds. He's very old, but he still pounds tires and builds these walls in his old age. He has a documentary called Garbage Warrior, in which you can see the journey as well as his 10-year struggle with the local government through legal battles to try to make this form of building legal. And it focuses on 6 principles of human life, which a ship or a spaceship would have to be able to take care of for humans. And the first one is comfortable shelter. And they do this through passive design means where they're utilizing the thermal mass of the Earth and using sunlight to charge up that solar mass, using insulation to keep stable temperature, using different angles of the sun at different seasons, and therefore eliminating half of energy cost in your household because 50% of energy use in America in the household is going to heating and cooling your house. So what they did was they eliminated that through this ecological design. When it's cold outside, the lower winter angle of the sun is going to shoot into the depths of your house and heat up the walls, and your house is going to radiate heat gently within. And then during the hot summer, the sun is at a higher angle, and only the southern facing greenhouse is heated up. And through the laws of thermodynamics, hot air, once it escapes through the top of the building, it creates a negative vacuum. It draws in air from the cooling tubes. So the outside hot air will come in and be cooled down by all the earth on its way. And then you'll have cooler air coming into the house. So it's basically free heating and cooling just by using the laws of nature. Here you can see they take insulation very seriously, and there are some low-tech solutions to making sure the vents work with just rocks in a metal basket to weight it so that it wants to open, and then you can tie it down from the inside. So again, that accessibility and that low tech is also what we're going for when we're going for sustainability and resilience that human beings can control in their immediate living environment. And the house also captures rainwater through all of its roof surface, filters it. You can then separate it for normal washing use or extra filters for drinking. By having a lot of cisterns, you take care of your drinking supply off grid as well. So this kind of building is completely off grid. And here you can see the digging out of planters, which are going to circulate the gray water for the plants to use. The indoor plants will use it, and they will filter out the water. And then that water can be then pumped into the toilet for flushing out with human waste, which then after treatment in a septic tank can be used to water outdoor plants. We already discussed that half of the energy has been eliminated by the design. So this is what makes solar energy and batteries available as the primary energy source of these buildings. And it can completely sustain a modern lifestyle with refrigerators, internet, and all of that. You just need to have enough batteries. But if your needs are very low and just for basic survival, as you can see here in the dormitory I stayed in, only one car battery was able to power half of this building because it was only running lights and pumps and Wi-Fi. And these earlier models, as you can see, they dig further deeper into the ground for more stable temperatures because they wanted to be sure. Another big thing of Michael's is using trash. He believes trash is a problem we have to solve as a species, and a good way to do it is to digest trash whenever we build buildings. One of the most powerful statements here is using recycled tires pounded full of dirt with sledgehammers. It's quite a workout to build these incredibly strong walls that are actually more earthquake resistant than conventional walls. And you could basically run a truck into them and the truck will suffer more damage than the wall. And then we also, on the non-structural side, use glass bottles that are cut and taped together for beauty and use them to save material and create light penetration in non-load bearing walls. What also struck me about this process was the human aspect, how a building could connect so many people and how building used to be really a social gathering activity, that collective identity building activity, if you may, for people back in the day. Now it's highly commercial. Here you can see this is father and son. They're from New Zealand. This kid was 17 at the time, and we can see old folks bonding there as well. And there used to be a lot of community building back in the day, and now we have sort of lost that as a species. And we are sort of lose the cultural DNA of how we're supposed to live in harmony with nature and each other. But if people start growing up in buildings that take care of them by interfacing with nature, then we shift the paradigm if we take this kind of living for granted and expect it and demand it. So I have this concept of the basic means of survival. And I believe power, energy, water, and food should be controlled more at the community and household level. And it needs to be at a scale and within reach of the regular person. And COVID has already showed us how fragile our global supply chains are and how the ability to be able to unplug for a few months and have your community still survive become very important. So if your house community could provide you with some of your basic needs and you could plug that into food forests or means of ecological agriculture, you start to see a way in which we could have infrastructure networks that fulfill our basic needs in a more sustainable and resilient way. And that could also bleed into our cities to an extent. So the real challenge here, as with all good ideas, getting over that chasm between early adopters and the early majority to really kick us into an eco-civilization where this is the norm for everyone. This was my graduate thesis aimed at a demonstrational project on educating people through this heirloom seed production library for the community. And again, stressing connection and how our species seems less evolved than a lot of other species in the planet that create connection and thrive through that. So one of the ways to get more people involved into this kind of vision is through the concept of solarpunk, through science fiction. One of the most powerful ways to do so and popular ways to do so now is video games. This is where I hand off the presentation to my collaborating speaker, Tian, and she will be taking over the presentation from here. The floor is yours, Tian.
So,
Thank you, Henry.
It still says
That's
Henry.
very rich content and very insightful.
Thank you for the Solarpunk, the description, how it lends to reality. So I'm gonna continue with how is it possible to envision this idea through game. Well, one thing is I can do a self-introduction. So I'm Pancho, and I actually have a background in media art. So I'm actually not like any major related with like eco or environment. However, what I'm studying now is the concept art for concept design for games and animation. And what I want to say is that game is the current ninth art, the art that is not only like it's a combination of the literature, it's the music, it's the script, the story. I would say that game is the most accessible form of storytelling that is even more accessible than book. And I'm saying this with the decaying of the publishing industry, the more like consumerism, the everyday on like short videos, how it takes over our life. I can really say that more people, especially young people now, we play games and we spend more time looking over medias than reading a book. And this will tie with my point that how, or like Tim's point that how like young generation, we will definitely feel a sense of hopelessness because we don't know where to take part. Even if we notice what's like our world or our living is not sustainable, we don't know how to envision a better what can we envision? Like before Henry explained Solarpunk, I would not really know that this is a possible way of life. But again, game is interactive, is engaging, is imaginable, is having a player audience that you are being part of the narrative and your decision will change the outcome of the story. You're experiencing a whole different life. And through this new experience, you are able to envision and see what could achieve. So what I'm presenting here in the slideshows are like designs, concept art for this game. And you can tell some are like sort of totally fantasy, some are totally like science, like hardcore, but all of them you have studied through like, yes, it studies us from reality. These are all like texts, you look at the trees, you look at plants, you look at existing villages, existing cultures, you understand them, and then you can bring in your own input. So say we want to imagine a solarpunk world, we will first to learn how, like say we are already building a real village with the ecological ideas. And then we will move into a game because it's more accessible than bringing people to an actual land space. Through the games, you can able to see through the interaction experience, through being part of narration, the player explores a different kind of life. And then through, if we are touched by the story, we are enjoying the game, even just a simple interaction, like the joy of having fun. We are able to ask ourselves that if I want a life like this, what world would be possible? And would our world be possible? Are we able to take part and do something about it? This is like more of the concept art, and I really like the designs. It's a good way of like fantasy imagination. And as I always said, fantasy is not escape of reality, but it's a metaphor of reality. Back in the time, we have the books, Lord of the Rings. We have all the fantasy books. It's also always a critical point to make for the reality. I would really want to ask you, like audience in front of the computer and us in the room, that think of the games that you have played before, and it could be anything like you've seen, like even chess, Uno, board game now people play, or like a card game. What are kind of games you have played, and see how you can inject your own ideas. Let's say, oh, how can I make the world of Catan into a more ecological, sustainable world, versus we are just putting hexagons on a plate.
Conquest based.
Yeah, it's like I actually like you do roll the dice. You roll the dice, you think of all the plan, like the agriculture you're planning, you harvest. You do get a sense of gathering resource, but you will be building towns, you will be building railroad. The goal is to develop a city. Versus I can. But if I want to design a game, I can say, oh, let's start with a world full of trash. And I can give you 1, 2, 3 resources, some points, and you can try to generate and see how.
Try to make some earth ships out of trash.
Yeah, like how are we going to do it? Yeah, it could be made into a game. If people have fun with it, then people can, because you can show some hard fact or reality through games, and through them interacting and changing all the trash into a goodness, they can start to see the protest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
slide.
so,
10 minutes.
so we, yeah.
All right.
I told you I was quick.
Yeah.
So for this next interactive section, we would like you all to draw upon your memories of your understanding of games you've played in your life and come up with a pitch of a new game that could convince more people or inspire more people about this potential Solarpunk future that they could build. Some things that we would like you to think about. Come up with a short pitch and give us an idea of what kind of game this is, what players will be able to do in it, and how would it inspire or convince people to bring about a Solarpunk future, and why would people want to play the game? What is attractive about it? Thank you. We can start right away.
Right, so we have some people
In
here
the room, and we have some people online. So here in the room, we have a consensus that we want a Solarpunk game. So that would be sort of the key visual factor. We'd love to hear from you all online as well. You can type in the chat, or you can open your camera and just share with us. But this idea we've just come up with is, based on your presentation. How about in the game? We are collecting trash to build Earthship structures. That can be one aspect of the game.
We want to turn the tides. We want to make this trash planet, turn it back into a more
Trash planet. There we go. Okay, trash planet. That's our title.
So we have
You started with a trash planet, and
All right, with trash planet.
through the end of game, that you want to reverse it into
Do
a
it.
planet that is self-sustainable and
Regenerative.
ecosystem is back. Yes.
Okay.
So that's our main goal, which is the main quest of the game.
Yes.
You know,
That's what you get to do.
Yeah. Now I'm
Trash
gonna
planet.
trash and make it
To
into like beautiful
be-
things.
Well, you're gonna have various technologies, different ways. Some
Generative.
are gonna be like involved like biodegrading and
That's right.
composting. Some
Oh,
are
yeah,
gonna
like
be
make
engineering and
compost.
building. And then you're
Excellent.
gonna have like different like tech trees that you go into.
So I'm now
depending
placing
on
this
your needs.
planet, and maybe I give you 3 resources. One would be, say, the eco resource. You can there like biodegradable animals, plants that can help you, microorganisms that helps to break down the, I don't know the terms.
Oh, like we've got to
Yeah.
grow our microorganisms and
Yeah.
distribute them
That's
correctly
one.
to eat away at plastics.
Yeah, I give
Yeah.
you another card. I give you another card for architectures, or let's say, like wind or like water filter, like a tech, some
Yeah.
things, right? Or it
Engineering
helps to
solutions.
engineering solutions, helps to detect the radiations. You can start from here, and then you can start to like use all the wasted art materials and reuse them to build shelters. Oh my God.
Nice, you're on a roll.
Yeah.
Write something.
So,
Micro.
so this would obviously inspire people to
Yes.
like draw
Yeah.
parallels to their own world
Yeah.
and like
What if somehow in the game it would connect us to real world practices? So if we learn about it in the game, there's some kind of resource.
Updating the game with all the updated mechanism
There-
of dealing
yeah.
with waste organically.
there's a lot of
Where-
lessons people could learn from this. Like the technologies employed in the game could
We even
have
get investors.
real life counterparts. Like
Yes.
composting, obviously, no brainer. They will, if you don't know about that, well, through this game now you know about it. And then
Connected
organization, community organization, like how to align, incentives. How to align the incentives of people in the community so that they get along in harmony and then they're willing to carry out
Happy
this mission.
conflict sounds so good.
Yeah.
Healthy
Oh, yeah, no, that's absolutely
challenges.
required.
Okay, yeah, so now you have like 3 bridges and you could start either way. This is our beginning bridges and say trash planet, you have all the radiations, the wires shoot the rocket, they leave out all the industrial dust, pollution.
There are stakes in this game. You could lose people to the environmental elements, the dangers of a
Yeah.
completely polluted and destroyed planet. So there's actually going to be tension in this game
Yeah.
where you could lose a lot of your resources and your people. And
Do you
that
play
will make it
against
exciting.
each other or as a team, as one gold family?
That's why it depends on the game. Do you want this game to be like a combat
Competitive one?
Yeah, like if you drop into a planet, they're already some organ organism and trying to attack.
We have a
your
comment
planet.
from our audience.
Yes.
A collective eco music making game with sounds from landscapes and waterways and plants and animals, wind and fire, amid which they could create eco music together, embodying the spirit of creative improvisation that is essential to EcoCiv. Everyone wins because the outcome is something they can share on an eco YouTube channel, listening to and maybe even dance.
Wow, this is more than
That's
just
really cool.
Wonderful, Jay. Thank you.
Love that,
That's a
and
great one.
it's kind of a source generated like a
It's like
content
a open
generated
source,
from.
yeah, it's like a platform. It's more than just a game. It's like a platform for co-creation. And yeah, that is a great idea.
Can
for a
we
game.
kind of combine somehow there too? Like when
I
you're
think part of
once
the
once
spirit,
you
psychological.
successfully recycled some garbage and we activated music.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you get more music as you go farther into the game.
Woo!
It becomes more complex and beautiful.
Well, for example, if you restore a sort of mountain stream area, then you get to listen to the clear water going and then you unlock
Yes.
some sound samples that you could then use. And what if the ultimate goal of this game is not to see the planet like cleaned up, but it's also to be able to make good music.
Yeah, to hear the planet sing
Yes.
and tell stories.
Yeah.
Stories.
So that would add to the charm of like why are people drawn to this game, in addition to like good character design and art and game mechanics. They could look forward to what kind of music they could unlock and make as they go.
So we have it connected to real world technologies where they can play the game, but then access resources and more information when they find something interesting. But then we also have it, then it's unlocking levels of beauty and music and creativity. So this answers our second question. Why would this game inspire and convince people to bring about a solarpunk future?
Yeah.
How about also that there's a community level, right? So somebody could play it as an individual player, but they can also connect with other people who are interested, forming teams and
I can also tell you the mere idea of furnishing and designing your own house or own homeland is like a its own genre of game.
Mm.
Most people just design, build houses, they post on it like social, like media, just, oh, this is the land. I mean, people do this in Minecraft, but in other contents, right? Like, like Animal Crossing, like, do you say, oh, look at this is my island, this is all the trees I do. But what if we have all these different like settlements, installments, and the more planet skill trees you grow, everyone's planet could look different, but all more like flowing, sustainable. And that's something like, it's like achievement. It's a sense of accomplishment itself. You can totally
Mhm.
post and share.
Yeah,
so that's
and
yeah.
And what about posting and sharing the regeneration of my bioregion? And then that connects to real life of saying, and maybe encouraging the players to go out and learn more about the actual bioregion that they live in and post real things like, you've regenerated this in the game. We encourage you to go do a little bit of restorative work and post that as well.
Here are the nonprofits
mirror.
near you.
Exactly.
Share your location
Like
that
a
are
little bit
doing
of mirroring.
this kind of work.
Yeah.
If you do the work, you can unlock something.
Oh, yeah, and then you
Like,
unlock.
You
Offline
get
connection.
special cosmetics in the game.
Yeah.
So your
Yeah.
characters have like special hoodies with logos of the
That's
organization you work
if you
with.
post that, the trees you've planted or volunteer
You can
time.
collab with these eco programs and say, if you
Right.
collab, you can purchase this sort of
Merch.
skin in the game, like
Yeah.
just to paint your planet in a different color or something, have this cool design or logos, but then all your profit, you will be donated to the
Yeah,
program.
we have in-game and real-world
Yeah.
merch where we have
The
this
games they
collab
play,
between the game.
I
and
like what you said though,
nonprofits.
that some of it goes back to those nonprofits.
There are games I play, they currently have this system. We
Nice.
collab the National Geography, we collab with, the game collab with the astrology, like you just
Mhm.
buy like the skin, it's just a one skin, costs a little bit, but the profit can goes to support.
Yeah, I like that.
Water clean.
The more we can connect it to, their actual everyday life,
Yeah.
the more we're answering that third question about why would people want to play this and what's attractive about it, right? So it's an online to offline experience, right? Like you go and see this Earth shipbuilding near you. Go and participate in this real life
Neighborhood.
Earthship being built, volunteers needed.
Your neighborhood stream being clean.
Yep.
Definitely like just unlock some geolocation, how you have unlocked this cool, like with the solar well, like something, and let me tell you, in reality, this is already happening and you don't know what you're doing.
That's right. That's right. Right. So,
Emphasizing the good story.
and so instead of it being workload heavy on designers having to keep updating it with local activities, we would outsource that to all the participants, the players. Find what is also happening near you and you get to unlock
Yeah,
certain
and then
benefits.
and show it
Yeah.
to us and
User
generated,
generated,
yes.
yeah.
Introduce us, our team, to the organizations near
Yeah.
you, and then bring it to our attention. We go verify them,
Right.
and then we add them to our game, and you get lots of in-game perks.
Yes.
Mm.
And then it's that adds that community complexity that's needed.
And it keeps getting built up, like what happens in soil, what happens in nature. Like things get
That's
more
right.
and more complex. Everyone's contributing.
Anything you want to add to the game?
I mean, you guys have a lot of, you guys are jiving very well, so I mean, I've stayed quiet, but one of the things that it seems to me is like closing the loop. It's like one of the problems, right? So when we talk about like recycling and so forth and regeneration, it's like there's so much waste that comes out of society, right? So like it seems like the core of the game is like closing that gap, right? Like closing the recycle gap, like how can things be reused? How do we look at things differently to be repurposed? And then closing the gap between the virtual world and then our lived world, right? So it's like, I kind of see like these arrows, right? Like for the recycle sign, but like keep on being regenerated, being reused in different contexts, like the bio, the tech, the human, the spirit.
Yeah, how could we add more spirit? Maybe we could put like as a stream and river is restored, maybe the river god comes back and you're right, that's part of what's unlocked in the beauty, right? We hear the music of the stream and the like the beavers and the fish return to the stream, but then eventually the river god is there too, and you get to interact with the river god. So that would be another level of complexity that we could bring in.
I know different cultures, we have the saying that if you respect the forest, the mountain rewards you back. So in some way, maybe you don't have to have a physical god, but you can just feel like this river is more like prosperity, and the ship sails in this river is like faster, like it delivers like the water feels cleaner, and you get less like bothered by the sickness from drinking from this river.
Excellent.
So just like
It could give you in-game
Hello?
advantages.
Yeah,
that
you
make your work
speed up.
from now on easier. If you fully restore a place, you see the benefit, you
Right.
feel the benefits in the game.
And we actually have the science that you can use to model how fast nature regenerates. I think we could work with the Science Research Institute and bring that science back into the game. You can actually know the consequences, so the result of your action, either good or bad.
The realistic timeline. You could
Yes.
Program in.
Yes,
Mm.
it is,
Maybe they
the
could
data is
speed up
available.
time in the game and then just decide what they're gonna do to a place and then let time run. And then, but it will tell you, here's how much time it takes to do this in the ecosystem. And then they get a real world idea.
Nice.
And realize how early you have to
Yeah.
act.
Right,
The game
right.
becomes an learning materials. It's not
Right.
just playing, you're actually modeling the real
Modeling,
world
right.
with this.
Like she said, fantasy is a reflection of reality. We have a comment from our audience. How about creating a guide for the society, environment, and mechanics, like how to handle resources and how some sort of economy works in that world, which could be applied in real life. And this way, complex mechanisms could be learned without ever noticing it. Have you played Okami?
Oh, Okami, yeah.
They have that mechanic of restoring the rivers and plants, and their respective gods will return.
Okami
Yay.
is a beautiful game.
Whoa, a
Aesthetics
good
are
model.
Amazing, and it guides you through like all this journey. And yeah, I think like a good sort of like co-pilot in game, sort of advisor in game that sort of breaks down, like teaches you, handholds you on how to do it.
Nice.
It's a great idea.
So what
It
about
can
the
fit in real world
economics, like
education thing.
putting in a level of regenerative economics?
Yeah, I
Like-
mean, it's through the mechanics of gameplay, like because you have to achieve a certain amount, a certain status or certain event, or have certain infrastructures ready to unlock the next step of movement
Right.
through economy. I think same way, like you want to see how the economy or ecology.
Economy.
Talking
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
I wanna see, say, certain like infrastructure back on moving, people are
Yeah.
doing certain interaction and see that it's run in a positive way, and then you unlock. So it's sort
Right.
of mechanics of game and how you design. That's the
Exactly.
thing, design, you have to
Yeah.
let your player out.
Right,
like,
and
you, like,
that's
a
the
bit by
community
bit.
also,
Yeah.
like the other players interacting with each other. Well,
Yeah.
I've restored my
Mhm.
ecosystem to a certain amount. I can go help my neighbors now. You know, I can trade,
The
you
sense
know.
of achievement, come see my flashy.
It's an
Yeah.
opportunity to completely build the new value system that you wish that it would happen in the real world. but
Which
not
is what
yet.
Jeremy was talking about in his talk this
Yeah.
morning. So applying what he was speaking about into the design of the game, not necessarily explicit.
Yeah.
Nice.
It has to be like a playable good game, yeah.
Well, yeah, we have so many ideas like
Can someone walk
in the
us
future.
through?
In the future,
game
Yeah,
if-
yeah.
so far?
Okay, summary of the game design, because we're at the end of our time. Summarize. Who wants to summarize? Bio.
Sorry, the three topics.
It's become
Three
so
questions.
rich that like,
Yeah, but again, it's like.
How are we answering the 3 questions?
well,
Henry?
Yeah.
uh,
What would the players do?
players will
in the
be
game?
able to regenerate a post-apocalyptic trash world, as we call it. And watch as communities and teams of people develop and sometimes suffer through the elements of this world. and watch them get better at certain ecosystems, get restored. And how this is going to inspire and compel real world action of bringing about a solarpunk future would be real world, what's it called? Real world interactions prompted by the game, where it tells you the equivalent restorative activities going on in the game are going on near you, and so that you can go check them out. And it also encourages community building of the game, where they go out and find organizations doing this kind of work and reporting it to the game to be rewarded after verification. And also with co-creation of music unlockable as a feature of the game. And the reason why they play it will also be this sense of ownership of this experience, and well, of course, beautiful art and music, and the ability to learn. And yeah, so I guess we pretty much.
That's it. Wonderful. Good prototype.
Anyone online want us to find us investors?
That's right. Start with the investors.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in the youth forum.
This is the end of our morning breakout session.
Morning.
And we'll come back in the afternoon.
We'll be back at 3:30.
Like the starvation, right?
Thank you. Thank you, David. Good to see you here.